Hello, my name is Conor. This is my MA206Y project, on November 25th, 2019. So, to begin, I'll state my research question is there a direct correlation or none at all between a cadet's GPA and their physical score? Does it vary does it vary when accounting for gender? This question kind of stemmed from basic stereotypes. People who are usually smarter don't score as well physically, or people who are usually stronger don't score as well academically. And I wanted to see, by taking a CPPPS, which is a cadet's physical GPA, and a CAPS, a cadet's academic GPA, and comparing them, would there be some sort of correlation that actually proved that stereotype right and or wrong? So there are three methods I used to help kind of account for this, the information I was given, and derive an answer. And for my first step was I looked at GG line plots of both academic and physical scores with males and females compared side by side. This created two graphs, one for academic and one for physical. Next, I made a scatter plot of physical score on the x-axis compared to the academic score with gender coloring, so that way I could see how people compared physical scores to academic to see if maybe some people had higher, if some population tend to have higher academic scores, or some populations tend to have higher physical scores. And then I wanted to see, based off the color of the dot, which area where females tend to lay around, which area males tend to lay around. My third step was I developed one linear regression model with a response variable of academic score and explanatory variables of the physical score and gender. Noted that the academic score and physical score could be interchanged, however, I just chose academic score as the response variable. So, Table 1 is basically a summary of characteristics of the subjects in the study. So as you can see already, there's not much variation between males and females, and you'll also recognize this in the graphs. Females do tend to have higher physical score and higher academic score, but on distance of variation between a female's physical score and academic score, or a male's physical score and academic score, there's relatively little difference, none more than a 0.04 change between physical score and academic score on average. So here's a GG line plot of my physical scores with gender. You can also just tell how the distribution between males and females is relatively equal. It's not really much information you can deduct saying females do better physically or males do better physically. Academic score, you can see the same thing. Females do a little bit better academically than males. However, the distribution is pretty even on both sides. So I wouldn't say that females tend to have a top 10% do better academically and the bottom 90 do worse, and males have it even. Now I'd say the distribution percentage-wise is relatively the same all around. This plot best describes the research question. And basically, you can kind of tell that as physical score goes up, so does academic score. And there's also no location that gender kind of, no explanation that gender provides, because you can see that the female dots relatively land up in the same locations as the male dots. And you can also see that as physical score goes up, academic score tends to increase as well. There's no general clump of male or female dots lower with physical score, or lower with an academic score, and higher with a physical score, or whatever. So, looking at the linear regression models, you can tell the validity conditions were met, and good p-value. And so, basically the response variable, CAPS, was the academic score, and CCPS and gender placed against that response variable. You could tell that there really wasn't very much of a difference or change, and that it kind of proved the stereotype wrong, that someone who's usually better physically will succeed better, or will do worse academically, or maybe someone who's more academically proficient will do worse physically. For future research, I think something interesting would be to account for maybe more of a physical score, such as an APFT or an ACFT, instead of a physical score. That being that one of the heaviest weighted classes here at the Academy physically is PE 215. However, really your only physical graded events are a cadet combine a majority of your grade is, nutrition facts, how to take care of yourself, which is more information based than like, getting out there and sweating and using your body. So that would be something I'd want to account for. On top of that, I'd want to account for people's, their major. So a GIS major like me usually has easier classes than a MECI major. So would me being a GIS major make me have maybe a higher GPA when, GIS majors may excel physically more often than not because they don't have to do as much schoolwork, while MECI majors are usually the ones that like tend to be the outliers with lower academic scores. Higher academic scores and lower physical scores. Who knows? But also, I think there is something to be said with this conclusion that someone who's willing to put forth the effort to succeed academically or physically, I would assume that they would care enough to also put forth the effort academically or physically in the inverse area. Meaning that if someone's willing to go out and work hard and better themselves every day physically, I would not be surprised if they were willing to go out, work hard, and better themselves academically as well. And this is a military academy. You tend to find a lot of motivated individuals. And I think that West Point is this is part of their goal, is to try to shoot for people who are well-rounded and they're doing their job. So say the stats. Thank you. That was my MA206Y project. How do I stop the recording?